That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprong, and co-host Matthew Futter and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show. I'm your host, Matthew Futter, joined by my co-host, Nick Steblenko, and we are back on this lovely Wednesday to talk some daily fantasy sports.
It is a lovely Wednesday, isn't it?
It is what they call Hump Day. So.
Yeah, and it's it finally rose above 20 degrees in Rochester.
It did.
So.
Things are looking up.
Yeah, that's a long road to be looking down.
All right, we got plenty of daily fantasy sports action today. We only got 3 games on the NHL, so we'll touch on those in the beginning. But we have a 12-game NBA slate. Obviously, if you're new to fantasy sports, the big nights for hockey are usually Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Basketball is usually Monday, Wednesday. Friday, Saturday is kind of a big thing, and sometimes Sunday. So they reverse. They do that for a reason, and makes it fun. I think.
I mean, it would be nice to say that they work in conjunction with one another, but I think it's just the way the media works.
It's a ratings.
Yep. It's all about ratings.
Yeah, of course. All right, so let's jump right in with the daily NHL action. Like I said, we only have 3 games. I like 3-game slates sometimes for hockey. It depends on what the games are lined up, but sometimes you're going to run to a lot of the same players, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, it's a guarantee this guy's going to go off. So.
Yeah, no, I actually like them too, and wrote about that a little bit this morning, about the way that an insane schedule can work. Yesterday there were 11 games on the docket, so it's, what do you do with that? How do you manage that? And then you get a nice, neat little 3-game slate on the back end there. So, yeah, I like it a little bit. I think it gives you a more focused approach, and I think you can do a few more things.
And they can check that out at blog.starfantasyleagues.com.
Yes,
correct?
indeed.
All right. First game on the slate tonight, we got the Calgary Flames plus 105. Taking on your New Jersey Devils, minus 125. Karamo versus Corey Schneider.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lou Lamoriello, for finally figuring out how to get this team to win just at the wrong time.
Yeah,
now,
really wrong time.
We're too far out of a playoff spot to make any of these wins matter, and then it's too deep into the season to actually start winning because they're starting to get themselves further and further away from a good draft pick.
They're 12, 14 out of the wild card spot?
Yeah.
14 points? So.
Yeah, so whatever. The Devils are winning, so from a daily fantasy standpoint, we have to take that into account. Corey Schneider is a very hot goaltender right now. Ever since the All-Star break, really actually since the beginning of the new year, he has been stellar. Mm-hmm. So you have to give him a look. He's around $18,000 now. His price has just crept up slowly. And Calgary, would you like me to make a pun here? They went up in smoke last night.
All right. Continuing on with the Calgary puns. So.
Yeah, we're horrible. They were at Madison Square Garden last night taking on the Rangers, and they lost 1-0. They couldn't get a single puck past Cam Talbot. That's because they only took 21 shots.
Wow, that's
not
pretty
good.
terrible. And
that's
Talbot, like we said yesterday, has been pretty awful.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, Calgary is not a very ideal pick tonight. New Jersey, on the other hand, is never an ideal pick. But Corey Schneider, I think, is the number one consideration. Some value options there. Patrick Elias, Scott Gomez, who apparently is resurging in a Devils jersey.
Yeah, all of a sudden, 3-4 years after he basically went in the tank. So.
Yep. And then you always have to consider Mike Camilleri. They got him for a reason, to score goals, and he hasn't done much of that this year. But lately he has put a few in the net. So there are some good options on New Jersey. As far as Calgary goes, I like Dennis Weidman. He's been playing really well lately.
Yeah.
He's around $10,000. Not too bad of a price tag for a defenseman there. And, I don't know if I have any faith in the top line right now. So that second line has a couple of value plays, Lance Bouma and David Jones to be exact. So you can give a look to those guys. You have to at least consider them on a short slate.
Lance Bouma, that's a great name.
Lance
right there.
Bouma.
For a hockey player?
He's been playing really well,
Boom
too.
goes the Bouma.
He's been doing really well lately.
All right. Moving on, we got the Pittsburgh Penguins plus 100. Looks like Marc-Andre Fleury most likely taking on the Washington Capitals. Minus 120 it is confirmed Braden Holtby. It's the rivalry night game, as they call it.
Yeah, I know. This is the NHL manufactured rivalry from the lockout days.
Well, honestly, I was watching something last night on one of the networks that this kind of stems back a little bit farther than you think, and I didn't realize this, honestly. It started in the mid 70s, early 80s when Washington almost folded essentially, and Pittsburgh fans would come down, and they actually played each other a lot in the playoffs in the 80s and 90s, more than you think. And so it stems back. It kind of died towards the turn of the century, and then picked back up with the Ovechkin-Crosby.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the fact of the matter is that Pittsburgh has not been able to figure out Washington at all this year.
No.
I believe they're 3-0, or 0-3, excuse me. And Washington has been lights out against this team. If you can get Alex Ovechkin in, sure, go ahead. He's 17,000. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find anybody that can really do that and have a successful lineup tonight. But it's at the same time, he's been really hot lately, and he's been excellent against the Penguins. Yep. So his line, of course, is always in consideration with Nick Backstrom. But I'm really kind of finished with that rotating right wing. It's been Andrei Burakovsky. They fit in other guys too.
Kuznetsov, I believe it was up there. At some
yeah,
point.
I mean they've had a bunch. They've had a rotating cast of characters on that second line or on the first line.
Johansson for a while.
Yep. Yeah, it's just. Whatever. The focus on that line is figure out a way to get Alex Ovechkin the puck on the left side.
Yeah.
Just let him loose. As far as Pittsburgh goes, I'm actually tempted to take a couple of Pittsburgh guys tonight.
Really?
Well, they're 0-3, right?
Yep.
I mean, you would think that, okay, yeah, with the odds stacked against them, then they come out and they're like, well, I want to play a little harder in this one because they've gotten us 3 times this season, particularly with Crosby and Malkin, who are both reasonably priced right now. Neither of them is at the max where they were pretty much all of last season.
Yeah, that's very key. If you're going to pay up for a max guy, like you're saying, Ovechkin, you could save a little bit and put one of those guys in who are just as effective or maybe more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as value goes on this team, David Perron has been one of my favorite value plays lately ever since going over to Pittsburgh, so I love him. Yeah. You can definitely look at Chris Kunitz, who I think is still undervalued. He's been playing really well. They've been shifting things around, too. Patrick Hornquist is now back on that top line. So, I don't know. There's a couple of options from Pittsburgh. I think you can look at every single one of them, and then you can always look at Chris Letang on the backside. He should probably be somewhere more like 13,000, 14,000, but we cap him at 12.
Yeah, it's very nice that we do that for the viewers, listeners, players, everyone who's
not going with either of the goalies in this one, by the way.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
We've already said how much we like Marc-Andre Fleury this season, and it's not much.
Yeah, no.
Because the guy is the king of regular season, but tanks in the playoffs. But
it's just rude. It's just rude, man.
Yeah, it's not nice at all. All right, the last game on the slate tonight, before we jump into the break, we got the Ottawa Senators plus 170 at the Anaheim Ducks, minus 200. It is confirmed Andrew Hammond is going to be in net, making his second career start, I believe, or third career start.
Probably third now.
Yeah, versus John Gibson, most likely, because they don't have anybody else out there. So.
Yeah, I'm not too happy with you, Mr. Hammond. So, I mean, the fact of the matter is the odds are completely stacked against the Senators in this one. Anaheim is the favorite by a long shot. And for good reason. They've kind of, I guess, gotten back to form lately. They have 3 straight wins, and Ryan Getzlaf is kind of back on top of his game. So I think he's a great option, and he's probably the cheapest elite forward that you're going to find tonight.
What's he coming in?
He's
around?
under 15,000.
Okay.
So he's cheaper than Crosby, Malkin, and Ovechkin, which makes him, I think, the ideal play at the center position.
Yeah.
Gives you the most money left over after you take one of those top guys off the board. So not sold on Corey Perry yet. I want to see him come back before I start diving headlong into it. But Getzlaf has been great. They shifted the lines around a little bit, and I think that might have helped.
Okay.
Yeah. So now
is Maroon still up on that top line?
Yes, Maroon is. But instead, Corey Perry got shifted down to the second line with Ryan Kessler. So that kind of opens things up a little bit. It changes things up.
Rene Bourque was up on that top line for a while as well. So
yeah, no, it's I gotta look it up here.
Sure,
I completely
no
forgot. That's why they do that. Kyle Palmieri, I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why I forgot that.
That's
I
okay.
love him tonight. He's a great value option. He's not cheap. I think he just has a lot of value at his price. He's over 10,000, so you do have to factor that in. But I think playing on the top line with Getzlaf, you can't go wrong there. You're going to have a ton of opportunities.
Anybody on the Ottawa side you're looking at?
Yeah, actually, Kyle Turris has been hot lately. He's been really good in the last 5 games. I believe he has 8 points over that span. So, yeah, he's a very cheaper option as well, around that 10,000 mark. And then Erik Karlsson, another defenseman that's at the $12,000 max for defenseman, and he really should be more around the $14,000 range.
Well, we've talked about that before. If you're going to pay up for an elite defenseman, it makes sense because they're as good as those top elite players.
Definitely. The matchup's got to be right, though. Don't be surprised if Gibson gives up a few goals tonight.
Yeah, don't be surprised. Don't get bit by that. All right, coming out of the break, we're going to break down almost all the NBA games tonight, and you're watching the Star Fantasy League Show.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now.
Right now, we have the updated info. I think he just said that.
The info has been updated twice, actually.
It has been updated twice. Welcome back to the Star Fantasy League Show. I'm your host, Matthew Futter, joined by my co-host, Nick Steblenko. Now it's time to talk some NBA. We got 12 games on the schedule tonight. It's a huge slate.
That is enormous.
Sometimes I'm not a fan of them. I was a bigger fan of last night's 5 to 6 games.
Yeah, so. Like I said, I mean, it's tough because you have too many options in some cases, and you kind of have to figure out which one's the right one, and that's not always the easiest thing to do.
Nope.
But don't worry, because you are minus one superstar, so you don't have to worry about that now.
You had to bring that up.
I did, of course. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
I mean, we do have something riding on the line after all, and I'm not going to declare victory by any means because there is still a season to be played, but I like my odds.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're referencing, Nick and I have a dress bet going on that we
now that we're on video, you will be able to see.
Should we make that the stipulation?
Oh, heck yeah. It was always going to be the
for the show that you had to
There
wear.
would be video evidence of this occurring.
If the evidence is, or the bet is that the Chicago Bulls will finish better in the conference for the regular season, I think that'll happen. You think the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I certainly
Nothing
do.
in the playoffs related. It's just regular season related.
Just regular season.
And it's close right now. I'm actually enjoying it. I'm glad it's not a blowout one way or the other.
Yes,
it makes it
I'm
interesting.
happy for that as well. But Derrick Rose out probably for the rest of the season. They're being optimistic right now.
I'm hearing
saying,
6 weeks at best case scenario.
A torn meniscus, really?
Yeah.
Really?
And
6
the previous
weeks
injuries.
for somebody that has knee problems as it is. It is a sad, sad story, no doubt about it. But the fact of the matter is, the Bulls have to figure out how to move on without him. So that's going to change things, I think, from a daily fantasy perspective. But why don't we take a look at some of the games that you don't like first, because I'm sure we'll get to that one in a little bit. So what games are you throwing out right now?
Sure. Right away, we're going to throw out the Dallas-Atlanta game. Dallas played last night. They're just too consistent as a team, and their depth is very good, which is good for real NBA, bad for fantasy. So I'm really not touching anyone there. On the Atlanta side, Dallas plays really good defense, and I'm not going to pick anyone from either of this game. I forgot to mention Atlanta plays great defense as well.
That
so
is
they're
true.
one of the top. They're the top defending teams. One of them.
That's tough. I mean, that line throws you off there. 6.5 point favorite for Atlanta. 203 is the over under. I think that's going to throw some people off.
Based on the salaries, I'm not touching any of those guys on either one of those teams.
All right, so that's one. You got any others?
Yeah, I'm tossing out the Lakers-Utah game. I will consider throwing out putting out there Gobert, as you'll probably see later, because he's just basically matchup proof. I think you can put him against anybody at any time, no matter who they're going up against.
Interesting. Okay.
Another guy to consider is Joe Ingles. He's back from the injury. He's at like 6,500.
Okay.
Going up against the Lakers, he's got a good matchup.
I was going to say the Lakers are horrible on defense.
Yeah, the line's so small tonight. It's 191, so that was something that kind of
battle of the
dissuaded
bads, if you
me.
will.
And the last one is Portland and San Antonio. San Antonio is really good defensively, and there's just so many games tonight. There's just you're not going to catch fire with anybody on that team.
Okay.
The only guy to consider is Kawhi, but I think his salary's too high where you can find someone better else. And obviously on the Portland side, if LaMarcus Aldridge is healthy, I would consider him, but he didn't play last game. He was scratched, so you got to monitor that situation.
All right, so we threw out 3, and if I know my first grade math, that means that there's 9 left, right? 1, 2, 3.
Got it. Yes, 9.
Okay, so let's start right at
Good
the top. We have Miami at Orlando. Miami's a 3-point favorite with a 198.5 over under.
Yeah, this is one of the closer lines of the night, and I think it has to do with the Chris Bosh injury very much, because Orlando is very bad. They fired their coach a few weeks ago. They've really slowed the tempo of the offense down, which could play a factor. But I think there's a few guys on the Miami side you should consider. Obviously, Hassan Whiteside, it's just been a terror, and he's great defensively. He gets blocks, he gets rebounds, he gets dunks. He's going up against Vucevic, which is a tougher matchup, but he's not the best defender. He's more of an offensive guy.
Okay.
Goran Dragic, who just got sent here in a trade. He's 13,000. 2 fantastic games so far by him.
Yeah, I mean, his value has to go up with that trade, and especially with Chris Bosh being out, that means one less superstar to take shots away from him, to take ball handling duties away from him as well. So I think that's definitely solid. I think we'll see that number go up a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Last guy for tonight, I would consider Luol Deng, he actually has a pretty good matchup. Orlando's the 4th worst against opposing small forwards. He's coming in just around 13,000. He's coming off a 32-point effort. I don't consider him most nights, but he's someone who might be a guy you put in like a GPP who might get you that.
Are his minutes being capped, though? I mean, he is getting older. Is he still seeing a full slate of minutes? I mean, that's one of the biggest things that you want to watch, especially with the older players, is are they still going to get a full run of minutes? Because if they're not getting the time on the court, then they're not going to get there as far as those rebounds and assists and stuff. All of those little points that you can find along.
No, that's good to bring up. And let me say his 5 last games, his minute totals: 33, 31, 34, 40, and 33.
So he's getting over 30. That's a solid start.
Yeah. So that's why I considered him tonight. Beyond that, that's pretty much
Nobody
it.
from Orlando. We don't like that.
Nope.
Vucevic, tough matchup.
No, too high. He's over 18,000.
Excellent. Okay, the next game then we have the New York Knicks at the Boston Celtics. The line is -12 for Boston, so we're looking at a blowout potential, and the over-under is 197.
Yeah, no Melo means I think you can bet on Langston Galloway getting his shots. He's at just under 12,000.
Still creeping up there. Very nice.
Yeah, a guy who got inserted in the starting lineup the last couple of days, and this is a punt play for tonight. I wouldn't necessarily advocate playing him, but he gives you an option. He's at 4,300. His name is Travis Weir. He's at 16.5 and 19.75 fantasy points the last couple games.
That is tough. That's a little tough. I mean, you really want to see now obviously he's exceeding his value. Mm-hmm. We've heard a number of times that you want to do 2.5 times the salary.
Yep.
So exceeding the value, but at 19.75, that's kind of tough.
It is tough.
You got to get over that 25-point hump, I feel.
Yeah, so he's a guy to consider. Everyone else on the Knicks, I'm really not considering. Boston side, I think IT3 is an option tonight.
IT3?
IT3.
We have an IT3. I didn't even know that.
Isaiah Thomas III. He's at 12,000. He's averaged 26 fantasy points over his last 2. And you were wondering, how much time he's going to come in after that trade, splitting time on Marcus Smart. He's still putting up 26 fantasy points average. Granted, it's not what the numbers we're looking for specifically, but again, he's a guy who I think is going to keep getting increased minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're around that mark, though, there's always a potential to go over 30 there.
Definitely. So. Another guy to consider, Tyler Zeller, if Kelly Olynyk is out. If he's out, he usually gets 31-plus minutes per game. Brandon Bass is another guy at 9,000. Jared Sullinger's out for multiple weeks, so he's another player to consider.
Boston is hurting.
Yep.
All right. Next game, then, Brooklyn at the New Orleans Pelicans now, right?
Yep.
I keep forgetting that.
Pelicans.
What is it? Brooklyn -2.5. Sorry, the 192.5 over/under.
Yeah, on the Brooklyn side, it's pretty obvious. If Jarrett Jack doesn't play or is very limited, Darren Williams is the start. 13,000. He's had 36.75 and 36.5 fantasy points the last 2 games without Jack. If he plays, they split time. You don't want to touch him.
Sounds good.
New Orleans side, Tyreek Evans, Anthony Davis is still out. Drew Holiday's out, and most likely Ryan Anderson. This is something you want to monitor. Won't affect him immensely, but Tyreek Evans, he's at 16,000. Over the past, he's averaging 28 fantasy points per game this season, but that was with the Brow in there and not getting the minutes. That average has gone up over the past few weeks, especially with him starting. So I think he provides great value tonight. He's got a good matchup going up against Darren Williams / the other guard that they throw out there.
Okay.
Another guy is Eric Gordon. He's at 11,000. He's at 36 minutes plus over the average over the last 5 games. So that's what we're talking about when it comes to minutes.
And then and your boy there, Jinka.
I had to put him down. If Anderson doesn't play, like last game, he had over 25 fantasy points.
So one troubling question that I have here is Tyreek Evans. He's still below 16,000. He's been between 15 and 16,000 for quite a while now. Does it seem to you like the value isn't going up enough? Like maybe he really isn't meeting his value as often as he should?
Yeah, I think that's the issue because he'll roll off a few games where he hits the 40 fantasy points around there, and then he'll come back with a 20-point, 22-point effort.
No,
so
that's tough.
He's a great boomer bust guy.
All right.
So
fair enough. GPP play then maybe.
Yeah.
Next game, Charlotte at Chicago. Chicago an 8-point favorite regardless of not having Derrick Rose, and the over/under is 191.
Yeah, I think this is a game you really want to target on the Charlotte side is Mo Williams. He's been playing really well since coming over in the trade.
Little Mo.
Now it's most likely going to be Heinrich with the start on paper, but Aaron Brooks is going to see the majority of the time.
Okay.
So he's at 12,000. I think he's a great play tonight. Another one is possibly Cody Zeller. He's at 9,500. He had 23 fantasy points last time. We've said this before. Pau Gasol really is not the greatest defender, but they still do have Noah down low, who's a great defender. He'll be watching Al Jefferson. That's more of just kind of a throw-in for variety. I wouldn't advocate playing.
So that's a couple of plays from Charlotte now with Chicago being an 8-point favorite. You got to have somebody.
Yeah, Butler's going to be picking up all
Absolutely.
those points in minutes that Rose is going to be losing. He's at 17,000. I would be surprised if in a few weeks he's around that 20,000 mark.
I wouldn't either.
Because of picking up that production. And obviously, I don't think you can go wrong with Pau Gasol. He's just been playing unbelievable this season.
Always an option.
But he is high over 20,000.
That is true. So he's got to be a top dollar play. All right, next game, the Clippers at the Houston Rockets. This is going to be a great game just from a basketball perspective. Houston is a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 215.
Yeah, I think this is a game where you can target a lot of guys. And obviously the top guys in the game, James Harden and Chris Paul, both of them are matchup proof, I feel. Harden
went crazy.
Harden,
last game, right?
Harden went for, I believe, over 60.25. Paul went for 49.5 last game against Memphis.
Wow.
So that says something
That is
to me.
impressive.
He steps up against big teams. He's in that John Wall, Derrick Rose type of atmosphere that he might be the originator of this, that he likes to play up to his competition.
Oh, absolutely.
So I
Blake
think
Griffin's still out too?
Blake Griffin is still out, so
Okay.
DeAndre Jordan, he's averaged 45 points over the last 5 games without Blake Griffin.
Yeah, that's enormous.
And another guy who got thrust in the starting lineup last night was Terrence Jones. He's at 12,000. He had 36 fantasy points last night.
He's been in and out, yeah. I mean, and when he gets in there, he does have that potential to
Patrick
go off.
Beverly was out, so they kind of shifted things around. So that's something to monitor. So if Beverly's out again, I think it's something that you really want to consider.
All right, anybody else?
No, that's it.
No, all right, next game. The Philadelphia 76ers against the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks are a 10.5-point favorite. Holy crap, I can't believe that. 189 over-under.
Yeah, this could be a return of MCW, or the DeVue, against his former team, the Philadelphia 76ers.
That would be awesome.
So if he's in, I'm definitely playing him, but he's so questionable at this point. On the Philadelphia side, Nerlens Noel, he's had 31-plus minutes the last few games. He's at 13,000. There's really nobody else on this team that's a consistent scorer. So you got to find someone somewhere. And the other guy I'm considering is Isaiah Canaan. He's the new starting point guard for the Sixers. The other day I talked about Tim Frazier. Frazier was actually waived, and they picked up Thomas Robinson. But Canaan, last 2 games, 29 and 30 minutes per game, and he's at 5,000. He's a guy that you want to toss in for a punt play.
Solid. All right, let's try to get one last one in here. Washington at Minnesota. Minnesota is a 2-point favorite. 201.5 over-under. I'm kind of surprised by that. Isn't Washington, wouldn't you consider them a pretty solid team?
I would, but they are coming off the back-to-back from last night. So they had a very tough game. So John Wall, obviously, is the top guy, but I don't think I'm paying up for him tonight.
Okay.
Marcin Gortat has averaged 34 fantasy points over the last 2. On the Minnesota side, I think Ricky Rubio is back to his old form, which is really surprising for me to say.
I mean, I got to be honest. I see a lot of green for Minnesota. Washington should be a good play, wouldn't you say?
They are, but coming off that back-to-back, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Shows how much I know.
All right, coming out of the break, we're going to finish up with the last couple games, and we're going to give you our winning lineups here on the Star Fantasy League Show.
Now, let's get back to it. The Star Fantasy League Show. Feel free to tweet the show at SF Leagues.
Welcome back to the Star Fantasy League Show. We're going to jump right back in because we still have a couple more games to go over in the NBA. Then we're going to give you our winning lineups for tonight.
Sounds good. All right, let's jump right in. We have Phoenix at Denver, the new-look Nuggets, if you will. Phoenix is -5. The over-under is 214.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because you look at the line, and then you look at who the home team is, and Denver is terrible. They got rid of a lot of their big guys.
Yep.
The only guy I'm considering on that team is Gallinari. He's at 7,200. 27 fantasy points last game.
Okay.
There's no Aaron Afalo there, so he's the only consistent shooter on that team. And I think T.Y. Lawson's a little bit too much.
T.Y. Lawson, I love that.
I love calling him that.
Yeah, and Phoenix doesn't look like they're the be defensive team on the board, so could
no,
be a pretty solid
but
matchup.
Denver's worse, and that's why I like a lot of guys on the Phoenix team, especially the big men. Alex Len, Markieff Morris, they're both under 14,000. You're looking at the numbers right now. Denver is second worst against opposing power forwards. So
yeah, that's big.
I think those guys are huge tonight. I'm staying away from the point guard position, though, because they recently acquired Brandon Knight, and Bledsoe's been the main guy there, but I don't know about this time split now.
All right, well, let's rush on to the next one then. Memphis at Sacramento. Memphis is a 7-point favorite. The over-under is 199.5. this is going to be a pretty good game, I think.
Yeah, the best defensive team in Memphis coming in, taking on Sacramento. I'm not touching Boogie tonight. He's going up against Marc Gasol. I will play Marc Gasol because Boogie doesn't play defense. So he's at 18,000. I think Zebo might be an option as well as 17,200. The only guy I'm considering possibly on Sacramento is the starting point guard tonight, Ray McCollum. He's at 5,300.
That's a name I know, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no Darren Collison. They got rid of Ramon Sessions.
Yep.
So
we used to play him a lot last year when IT2 was out. McCallum did a pretty solid job. He did really well. So, yeah, I think he's a great value play. So, anybody else?
That's it.
All right. Well, I think we're all set then.
Did you call him IT2? Did I meant to say I thought it was IT3. I thought he's
IT2.
I thought
IT2 played for Sacramento.
Yeah, but Isaiah Thomas, right?
Yes.
I thought he's Isaiah Thomas the third.
No.
Are you sure?
I don't think so.
All right. Whatever.
What the hell? We're talking about basketball. Why would you trust anything I say?
That's true. All right. It's time to give our winning lineups that you can put in tonight on StarFantasyLeagues.com. And we've been doing really well. If you put in my lineup last night, you would have been in the top 20 for the free roll.
Not bad.
And we make this very early in the day, so that's a disclaimer.
Yeah,
so
very nice.
All right.
All right, so let's run down hockey. You get 2 left wings, 2 right wings, 2 centers, 2 defensemen, 1 goalie, and 1 flex play. So I'll start right off with my left wingers. I have Milan McCulloch in for Ottawa. He's been playing really well for the Senators recently. I don't trust John Gibson in goal for the Ducks. The other left winger, David Perron, he's been one of my favorite value plays. He's under 9,000, and he's been doing really well in the top 6 for the Penguins. My 2 right wingers, Emerson Edom for Anaheim. He got moved up to the second line. He is on the line with Ryan Kessler and Corey Perry, and he's at 6,000. I think it's an excellent value play, and I think that Andrew Hammond is going down tonight.
Ooh, he's calling it.
It's going. And then the other one from Anaheim, Kyle Palmieri, he's at 10,000 on the first line with Ryan Getzlaf, who I have in my lineup just under 15,000. Patrick Eliash is going to be my value center tonight. He's at 6,600. My 2 defensemen, Hampus Lindholm at 7,100 and Dennis Weidman at 10,000. Like I said, I do like Dennis Weidman. But I am going to be cannibalizing some points just a little bit because I do have Corey Schneider in my lineup. He is at just over 18,000, been fantastic lately. And then my flex play, I had the money, so I'm going with Chris Kunitz. I do like the Penguins tonight just as a shot in the dark, especially if you're playing in tournament play.
Fair enough. All right, time for my NBA lineup. The guard position, I'm rolling with Isaiah Kanan. I already said that. He's the starting point guard in Philadelphia. Rolling with James Harden at 23,000. I think he's going to step up for a big game. Last guard is Joe Ingles for Utah. I talked about he's very undervalued at this point.
Gotta find the value.
My forwards, Brandon Bass, because I'm banking on Kelly Olynyk not playing. Tyler Zenolo being available. I get them all confused. He's at 9,100. Tyreek Evans at 16,000. Nerlens Noel at 13,000. And at center, I got Rudy Gobert because I love Rudy. I was able to fit in Hassan Whiteside as well.
Wow, Hassan upside. Love it, dude. Love it. Well, that's a solid lineup, I would say.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same guys I've been using this past week, so I figure you got to roll with them while they're
if you
hot.
got a good streak going, you got a good streak going.
And you can put these winning lineups in at StarFantasyLeagues.com, win some real money, and tune back in tomorrow for the Star Fantasy League Show.